heroes. It's an old-fashioned notion.
A visionary, a genius, ensuring freedom around the globe.
A symbol to the nation, a hero to the world.
The beacon of hope, shining out across the stars.
I look around at us, you know what I see?
A bunch of a-holes.
Possibility. You think you know how the world works?
The world is changing. We need heroes.
Wakanda forever!
Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. Conflict breeds catastrophe. The thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. We're in the endgame now.
Before we're done, we still have one promise to keep.
If you can't protect the Earth, you can be damn sure we'll avenge it.
Whatever it takes.
Welcome to another episode of Words, Music, Dance. I'm your host, as always, Paul to the Bull. You already know the biggest event that went on, in our lifetime, Avengers Endgame, was last week. We've all seen it, so I got a couple of, my constituents to talk about it real quick. We got Crystal, Big John, Jared, and let's talk about it. So, Crystal, first off, what were your initial feelings and reactions? Actually, you saw it 1 a.m.
Yes.
And sat through the 3 hours in 2 minutes. How'd you feel?
Breakfast.
4 a.m.
I was tired. I thought it was like 5 a.m. when we got out. And I was emotionally drained. That's how I felt. I was like, man, this can't be the end. I mean, I know it says end game, so obviously it's the end of something, but I was real sad and emotionally drained. It can't be over. Like, we've been riding with these characters for how long? Be like, this is the end, and the way it. I feel like, can I get like a time stone and be like, rewind it back or something? Like,
we'll talk about where they're gonna go from here. What the future holds and stuff. But John, what were your feelings right after seeing it?
Oh man, definitely emotional when it comes to that kind of thing. Like, you've been waiting, since they talked about the plans rollout. So you talk about 10 years of waiting for this whole thing to roll up and wondering how they're gonna do it. Is it gonna live to expectations? Like, are they gonna do a good job? And then watching the film and watching the emotions. Not only, my favorite thing about movies like this is that you get to watch it and have your emotions, but then the crowd, the people with you, like, you don't even know the strangers. You're cheering with them, you're crying with them. You're like, it's a mix of things, which is just a beautiful experience. And not many movies do that, like this movie did, like these films did. So it's just great. But yeah, mad excitement, like wondering what's gonna happen, where's gonna be the energy, what's gonna go on, like what's gonna, are they gonna fuck it up, or are they gonna make it better? Like, because in my opinion, they've made no bad films. Like, there's films that are better than the other, but none of them are bad. So I was like, the last one can't be the bad one. Just excitement.
Jared, what was your thoughts? I kind of saw your reaction to stuff. I was there when
you were there.
At home, let them know
Nah, it was definitely emotional because the whole send off, it was done great to me. Confused, and I had some questions to it because there were some, as we discussed, there were plot holes that we felt that were there. So some things that ran through my mind, but overall, it was a great cap of 11 years.
I see what you did there, Cap.
But it was a great 11 years. It was a great run for 11 years. And, it leaves you with excitement to want to know what's going to happen next. Because, I know we're going to talk about it later, but, it was how it ended in terms of just, usually there's a spoiler at the end or a scene from another movie that's going to come up. The fact that it left you with just a tribute to Iron Man leaves you to say, well, what's going to come next? And I think that's a great thing because now we don't have an idea of what is the next big bad coming up. So it leaves you with with just your thoughts to see what.
Yeah, I agree with all you guys. My biggest, after seeing Infinity War, my biggest worry was because we all kind of knew what was going to happen in this movie. We knew time travel was going to be involved. We knew everybody was coming back because Spider-Man obviously has a movie coming out in 2 months. Other movies are slated. There's going to be another Black Panther. There's going to be another Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah.
We knew they were coming back. So it was like, my biggest worry was they're going to do Endgame and just say, okay, everything that happened in Infinity War, erase it or reverse it. And they didn't do that. And that's what I was mostly pleased about because, and we saw, scenes of them filming like back in the Battle of New York and so on. But like, oh, they're going to just go through the history. But the way they did it was they went to the old movies, but they were sneaking through the movie kind of. Like they were behind the scenes. So we saw the Battle of New York when they did the epic pose of all of them over Loki, say something, move. You see Tony sneaking behind them, and he's looking at it, observing it, like, look at these guys. You know what I'm saying? So interesting. Like even when Cap saw himself, and we'll get into that, and he said, oh, man, I can do this all day. He was like, this nigga, I was that corny? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was interesting the way they looked at themselves. It was kind of like a Deadpool kind of moment with them, blurring the third wall, so to speak, of the movies that we've seen. So it wasn't just typical, we're going to go back to the movie and we're going to do it differently kind of. It was right. They were in the movie, but they were just going through it. So it was very well done. And of course, the main thing we noticed from the end of Infinity War was the main people left were the original 6. So I wanted to go through the original 6 with you guys, specifically individually, and talk about the moments they had in the movie. Do we feel from the 11 years or so that they've been involved, did it do them justice, and so on? So I want to start off with Hulk. Darren, I think you're the tallest one, so let's go. You start off with Hulk. What were your thoughts on how they did Hulk in this movie and his path, his journey, through Infinity Saga?
Interestingly weird. And the reason why I say that is because, Universal controls the distribution. So it's not like Marvel has standalone Hulk movies to just say it's their movie. It's more so through Universal. So Marvel kind of doesn't give Hulk the love that he probably should have, or the standalones that he should have compared to the Iron Mans, the Captain Americas, and Thors. But his movies, so other than that, what was Ed Norton was the last one who played it before Ruffalo. So besides that one, and then completely forgetting about Betty and Thunder Rosa Bowl, forgetting all about everybody and just going straight to Black Widow as the muse. All his movies have been spliced through another movie. So you kind of, the only lineage to Hulk you have is watching somebody else's stuff. So to see from that, and then Ruffalo pick it up in Avengers, and it looked great, in Avengers. And there was always that conflict between Banner and Hulk about the control of power. And then it's a blank space. And then you see Thor 3, where they're, it's like the Planet Hulk version of Hulk, where he's just battle mode. And then seeing him from there to now, which you still have blank space. Yeah, me and the big guy, we just, we had a whole little meeting together, and we're just cool just being both at the same time. Like, it's just, it doesn't leave you with, it just leaves you with, okay, you got to imagine what just happened. You really can't.
Right. John, what did you think about the whole Professor Hulk reveal? What did you think about that? John, you there, Amy?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking Jared that.
No, I'm saying, what did you think about Professor Hulk?
I mean, I didn't mind it at all because, like, following the comics, like they do merge at one point, so I didn't mind it. But I think in the Avengers trilogy in general, like, they don't really use him as much as they should have. In the first one, they did let him loose a little bit, and he got to do some damage. Yeah,
right.
But besides that, the second one they didn't really use him much. They made him more like a pussy in Infinity War. And then they didn't use him much in this one either. Like, as far as the savagery part of the Hulk, which is probably the biggest usage, like, to have him on the team. If you any of the comics or the cartoons and any of that stuff, like, he's a big part. He's a big help because of all the damage he causes and the destruction he does. So I was a little sad that they still didn't use him even now. I thought they would use him a lot more powerful. I thought maybe he'd get at least a few revenge punches on Thanos. He didn't even get to fight Thanos.
I was sad about that part. That made me mad.
That stuff bothered me a lot overall because, like I said, he's one of the most powerful characters in the entire Marvel universe, and they barely even touched him at all. So that kind of, like I said, that kind of sucked overall. But I didn't mind the mix of the Professor Hulk. I thought it was pretty cool the way they did it. The CGI I thought was pretty good.
Yes.
I was like, and it was funny because literally, like, I was watching it, but right before that, they played the trailer for Gemini Man, and I was just complaining about how, like, the young Will Smith, the CGI doesn't look good.
The
like,
face,
you can tell it's CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally, I'm watching this like, yo, this actually looks pretty good. They did a good job with it. But as far as utilization of the character, I think Hulk was, like, not really well used in the last three films. I thought they used him pretty well in the first Avengers, but I don't think they used him the way he could have been used. But it could be partially, to Jared's point, that since Universal owns him, they're not going to give him too much love and be like, well, and give him his own little thing. But I feel like he was used better and more in Thor Ragnarok than he was in any of the Avenger films.
Right.
It kind of sucks because Hulk is one of my favorite characters. His backstory, his origin story, like, is one of the better ones. He's a deep character, and to not really get to see it kind of sucks.
Funny thing that you mentioned, Gemini Man. It's directed by Ang Lee, who did the Hulk movie before the MCU. So, I mean, the CGI in that was, a little. I see your face, Crystal. But yeah, the funny that you mentioned. That's what made me think when you mentioned that. I was like, yeah, Ang Lee directed that, and we see, we see how that movie.
He hasn't learned much since. So.
But Crystal, what, did you at least enjoy his fake Hulk smash when they went back to the Battle of New York and he was just like fake raging?
I thought it was cute. I thought it was cute. I mean, I agree with what you guys said. I actually enjoyed the integration between the Banner Hulk throughout Endgame. I did like it. I kind of felt like it was, like you said, Jared, like you kind of have to fill in the gaps, but I feel like they were trying to show some sense of a progression between just the Banner, just the Hulk, and now we have this 5 years later, we've learned to integrate each other and come to this meeting of the minds. So it was kind of like they did his closure even before we got to the end of the movie in terms of the Hulk character and what we would hope that those two pieces combine to make some semblance of a character.
Right.
Hulk, I agree. I feel like he was so underutilized. It was kind of like, you're part of the original six, so we got to put you in here in some way. So instead of you smashing everything, let's just make you a smart, big green guy. And you may have been the person to hold the gauntlet, but you fucked that up. And so, just, out of the six, I was kind of like, all right, I guess that's the end of the Hulk. Like the first quarter of the movie, he's integrated. Yay. Next.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how Hulk was. He was like, yay.
Yeah.
That's how he was.
Right, that's how he was.
I never had a feeling that he was angry.
Yeah, I guess he's not angry anymore. My biggest issue was they really didn't explain how he fused Banner and Hulk. And again, even though the movie was 3 hours long, they had a lot of other stuff to cover. So we get that. And like you guys said too, they don't have a movie for him to do it, so they kind of covered his story arc across multiple movies. However, the finale of his arc was really just thrown into this one. They really didn't say he's been working on fusing the two, or, you know, so they really didn't, you know, delve really much into him. And yes, Crystal, he did have the moment of wearing the gauntlet, and he's the one that snapped and brought everybody back, which we're also going to get into as we talk about the movie going along. So that was like his one big moment. But I feel like for the culmination or the finale, we needed one last Hulk smash. You know, we did need that one more, and we all thought it was going to be him getting revenge on Thanos, and he never even seen him face to face. It was like he didn't even look at him like, yeah, remember me, or Natasha died for this, and, you know, it wasn't anything involved. And even that emotion, they didn't really cover their love story, which they had started in Age of Ultron, you know. And
yeah, I mean, what was he doing during the fight?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And he got mad when they found out she died for the Soul Stone. But even her, you know, even that, and we'll talk about her a little more as well. But you know, they didn't really. He was just there. You know, a lot of times Hulk was just there. They was like, we need him to be the one to wear the gauntlet the first time because he can handle it. You know, so we still need him to be here, but we don't know what else to do with him. So, you know, next, Ronin, aka Hawkeye, who wasn't in Infinity War, and we know now, kind of, you know, he was still under house arrest or whatever because of the Civil War, all the wars. And then we see the movie actually started with him and his the kind of the what do they call it, the decimation, the dusting.
Yeah.
So, John, what were your thoughts on the Hawkeye character in this movie? And
I mean, I loved watching him turn into Ronin. Like that was one of the big hype factors for me going into Endgame, because I'm a fan of the character overall. I wasn't a big fan of the Hawkeye character, but I was a big fan of the Ronin character overall. So like watching it happen in the movies, I was like, oh, this is pretty awesome to watch. I mean, he definitely did his badass role. It was cool to watch the emotion part of it with the family. You know, watch his family just like out of nowhere disappear, him not know what's really going on, him not understand because he had no idea what happened. So I thought that was pretty cool overall. And then, like, you know, getting to watch him throughout the film have more of a presence and be more important. Like, he definitely had he had a bigger role in the Hulk, guaranteed. But he had a bigger role in this film overall. Like, even towards the end, we don't get to carry the gauntlet and run around with it. Like, I thought they did a good job with it overall. I love Jeremy Renner anyway, but I think he did a great job with the film. I love the way his style looked, the way the Ronin costume looked. You know, his whole him going on like a Punisher type thing where it's like, all right, well, my family's gone, so now I'm getting everybody. Which you know, I loved. And then, you know, even like you said, even his roles in the movie, like him in the, you know, the Black Widow part, like I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen because the Black Widow thing, we know, everyone knows is a prequel, the one that's coming out. So it's like, all right, well, I guess see what's going to happen here. But even his role there, I was like, yo, like, oh, nice. Like, they did a good job with it. I think they did a good job with it overall, the way they wrote him into the story, made him more important, especially since there's a lot of people who are fans of Hawkeye that were mad that he wasn't getting as much love as he should in the other.
I missed him in Infinity War. It was like there was no explanation of him at all, and he's always been the butt of jokes, you know what I'm saying? Even in like Age of Ultron, it was like, I'm just a guy running around with a bow and arrow. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely he was definitely more involved in this one. Crystal, what's your thoughts on Hawkeye?
I have always liked the Hawkeye character to not be a super, like Black Widow, they're not super powered, but they are just as much a part of the team, if not an integral part of the team. I enjoyed him more. I think this movie, even though I've always liked the character, I really dug him this movie. Like, it was almost like he took us with him on this journey because his family was lost. We went through, again, this whole movie was emotional on so many levels. To take us on the journey of losing the family, some sort of revenge, and then a bit of redemption at the end, which I enjoyed. I I was a little torn up about the whole him and Black Widow with the fight for the Soul Stone, because even though we knew it was going to be her, we kind of wanted it to be him so that he could kind of have that moment of, I'm doing this for everyone that was lost, including my, so again, it's that emotional thing. And him letting or letting her go is another loss. So we're almost back at square one. Now I've lost everyone. And even though there's a hope of getting some part of me back by adding all the stones and, snapping, this one, it's a soul for a soul. So this one's not coming back. And I felt that. I felt that. I felt his whole journey. When the phone rang and it was his wife, I was like, yes, thank you.
That was a big moment.
Yes, thank you. It's the wife. Oh, it worked. So there's a piece of that comes back. But then at the end, when it's him and the Scarlet Witch, just having that moment. Like these are
Quicksilver. And they both, her Scarlet Witch and him were both, they both had a little bond with Quicksilver. So yeah, that was a little moment they had there too. Yeah. Jared, what was your thoughts on Hawkeye?
Well, one, I know you're happy to see Hawkeye because you were crying about it when you didn't see him with any little. You were crying about it when he wasn't on any little trailers for Infinity War.
Because there was no explanation.
You started the whole "Where's Hawkeye" hashtag. So,
because where was he? I wanted answers. I wanted answers.
Well, I will say this: the whole transition was great. To me, and this is probably just me. You try to tell me with all that stuff happening in New York and the whole, alien invasion, you trying to say he really couldn't break his ankle bracelet and go out there and fight somebody?
Well, he didn't know. He was spending time with his family. As we can see, when all that was going on,
nobody even called him.
When did they have time to? They didn't have time to call him.
Carla had time. She had a whole Avengers Tower in wherever New York, upstate New York. She could have been like, yo, my man, shit popping off in New York.
Remember, they went right to Wakanda. They left London or whatever and went to Wakanda.
All right. I guess international romance.
They didn't go back to New York. They didn't even go to New York. That's why Tony and Strange ended up in space and Spider-Man, because they left New York. But Cap, Falcon, and them caught Vision and Wanda, and they went straight to Wakanda from there. They didn't go back home. They went to the call.
Didn't she mention in Infinity War?
Stuff is going crazy.
In Infinity War, didn't she mention that Hawkeye, he's with his family, he's on house arrest, he's with his family, enjoying his family time. So she kind of made it sound like, I don't want to bother him. He's with his daughter, he's with his sons. Let him do his thing.
How you never bother somebody when shit like this is happening? Like this, you think that's like this is like an in case emergency, break in case of emergency kind of thing?
I don't know. I feel like
when you call.
Exactly. He got a bow and arrow. Come on.
She got a gun. What is she going to do?
You got a Cap. You got an Iron Man.
Right.
You got
a call.
No, I'm saying, I'm going to call one member who has no powers. I'm going to call the one with no family, which is Black Widow. This dude with his kids and shit, come on. His bow and arrow's not going to hurt.
That's the one you call. I don't think he wasn't on their mind wait, before we go, because we need backup. No,
but let me start ragging on him. I love the arc of Hawkeye, especially in this movie, because the confusion of what's going on, and him finding out. Well, just the whole family's disappearing. It's kind of similar to Ant-Man. We'll probably talk about that later, but it's kind of similar to Ant-Man, where when he comes out of his quantum realm, he's like, what's going on here? So it's the confusion of what's going on. And, after that, I guess you spend 5 years trying to find out, I guess you figure out what happens and so forth. But then now you have nothing to lose now. So because you have nothing to ground you, now you're going into this, this whole assassin mode, just taking out any source of bad. And it's kind of like, because I couldn't do anything to take out bad before, now I'm taking it out on everybody else who has done evil to the world. So the whole search for Hawkeye and how Scarlet Witch, the Scarlet Black Widow, finds him, in action and sees the kind of man that he's become, and him feeling kind of dishonored by everything, and knowing that she sees him in this kind of light. It like, that's an emotional part, because you see the anger running through his veins in this, and him feeling like there's nothing left until she presents him with an opportunity to try to make things right. And then that leading to Volmir, where they had that little fight back and forth to see who's going to sacrifice themselves, because as like, Widow knows she has no family. Mm-hmm. Her only family really is Hawkeye and his family. And then Hawkeye feeling like he needs to do this because of everything that he's done. Like, he doesn't really want to live with that whole life that he's lived, like that, trying to fight because his family's not here. So he has no problem getting rid of himself and wanting, Black Widow to take his family, to just be there for his family and so forth. And she couldn't let that happen. So it was to me, it was more emotional seeing that, only by a little bit, than Gamora and Thanos, because to Thanos, it was like, I love you like a daughter, but here off you go. And she had no idea that she was, loved by him. You never really had like a connection to where you thought like she knew that he loved her like that. Mm-hmm. But this, you can see, this is an actual friendship, a best friend, like a family kind of bond, and to see how they connect with one another and want to be the one to actually do this. To me, it was more emotional.
I think it's the opposite, because I feel like the Gamora Thanos moment was unexpected, as it was for her too. And that was our introduction to how the Soul Stone works. Whereas in this one, as soon as they were going there, we were like, we know what's about to happen. Like, you already know. When they first went, we didn't know, Red Skull was there. We didn't know, so none of that was, as surprising. And then, and the moment with Gamora, it was just like, she's laughing like, ha ha, you don't love anything. And then he looked at her like, it was part of Thanos' arc, which you want to talk about too later, is because it's like, Infinity War was like his movie, that we saw a different Thanos. He had a mission, he had a plan, he was patient, he was focused, and and due to the time travel and stuff in this movie, we really got the Mad Titan, who was just like no plan, no real focus, none. He's like, I beat y'all, I won, and I'm gonna do it again because y'all can't stop me. So he was just ruthless in this one.
Also, if they forced his hand.
Yeah, so it definitely was like that was an interesting part of it too. Not to take anything away from Hawkeye and Black Widow's relationship, it was just that even though we know them more than we knew Thanos and Gamora, it was just that moment was a little, because we were learning Thanos, in that movie. You know what I mean? We were learning him, and the fact that we found out how much he loved her, it was like, oh wow, and it even was shocking to her. So it, caught everybody off guard. So to me, that one hit a little bit more. But since we started on Black Widow, she's next up on the list. So let's talk about her arc and how she was kind of like, she became the director of whatever it was at the time. She was the the point person for everybody all across the galaxy. She was talking to Rocket. She was talking to Okoye. She was talking to Captain Marvel. She was the only one staying at
Rhodey,
the Avengers headquarters, and touching base with everybody, and sending people on missions and stuff like that. So she kind of got a leadership role in this movie, which coming a long way from just being the pretty face in Iron Man 2, pretending to be the secretary, and then finding out she's an assassin, a spy, and da-da-da. And it was like, when everything went crazy, she was the one, keeping some sort of focus to, we still got to be heroes to whatever's left. You know what I'm saying? So, Crystal, what were your thoughts on her arc and how she went about in this movie?
No, I never liked her. I mean, from the
skip you
beginning, I never liked her. I'm sorry. I get it. We need a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in this testosterone-y, Avenger-y thing we got going on.
Okay.
I didn't like her in Iron Man 2. I didn't like her in Captain America. I didn't like her.
Erroneous on both counts.
I just I never liked her. I kind of started to like her in Endgame because I kind of knew that her endgaming was endgaming. So of course, you know, I respected it. No problems here.
Right.
I never liked her character. I got the necessity of her character, but I just didn't like her. And it's not like, maybe it's a Scarlett Johansson thing. I think that's what it is. I
got against ScarJo
Johansson. That was
wow.
So
wow. The hate.
I never have. Now there are movies that I don't like that I can still go to and be like, oh, that was a cool movie. Everything I've ever seen her in, I've never liked her character. Wow. I feel like it's always Scarlett Johansson playing somebody, and you know what I mean? It's like Leonardo DiCaprio. In every movie, he's still Leonardo DiCaprio. He's got an accent or something else.
I know John has different feelings about that.
I'm just saying.
That's one unpopular opinion episode.
Oh, y'all all agree. Like he's always himself.
But let's focus on.
Okay, sorry.
Put a pin in that one and save it for later.
All right. So Black Widow, I get her necessity. I get that she is sometimes the soldier. I know Cap is the soldier, but she is focused, the goal, this is the job, this is what we do. And sometimes she veers off for the greater good. I got all of that. I just never liked her character. And at the end, in Endgame, I was sad to see her go because, again, this whole Marvel universe, you know, I get. But I never liked her character. She was always so... So yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay, Jared, how you feel? How you feel about it?
Completely opposite than that.
Sorry.
I've always enjoyed her character. I mean, I'm a fan of Scarlett Johansson anyway. But aside from that, I also like her character because she is different than everybody else in the group. Well, her and Hawkeye is similar, where they're both spies. And she's always been loyal to Fury. So, you know, it's basically like at the end of Iron Man 1, she was the one that, you know, was like outside of Nick Fury, she was the only one that was really there. You know, and she's been there since the beginning.
And she was
she's been a lot. She's been pretty intricate in a lot of other movies. And you've seen her arc become more than just the spy. And I mean, there's a lot of hidden, I guess they'll touch upon that in her solo movie, where they talk about those missions. Could they always mention, you know, a city, you know, like it's not like Budapest or wherever. So I guess you'll see more of her arc when that movie happens, but you've seen she's come more of she's more than just a spy and a pretty face. She gets shit done. And when everything fell apart, she could have just let everything fall apart. And she held everything together. You know, Iron Man is out doing whatever, but even when Iron Man came back, it was like he didn't want no parts of this stuff. He wanted to be left alone. He wanted to have his family. Cap was roaming around doing whatever. Like, she felt like this needed to be done still. So she's always had the Fury in her. You know, where it's like, you know, being a leader, you know, holding things down together, and everybody sings down and out, let this be me. And then culminating into her, you know, her and Hawkeye's relationship, you know, as best friends. And they generally have love for each other. wanted to sacrifice herself so that way Clint could be with his family eventually one day, hopefully. Because at that time, there was no guarantee it was really going to work. It was all for the hope of it working. So, she wanted Clint to be with his family, hopefully, and sacrificing herself. That's just the pinnacle of her career, of her life, literally, because there's no more of her. But
exactly. John, not to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio. But how did you feel about Black Widow's arc in the finale and Endgame?
Well, I mean, I liked it overall. I like the character of Black Widow. Obviously, being a comic book fan, I knew in Avengers, I knew that you need Black Widow in the story anyway. But on top of that, me being a huge Punisher fan, she's done quite a few appearances with in there. So the character I've always liked. I loved how the way Marvel did it. They started off as a cold-blooded assassin killer, like the way she was, and then you slowly, as the movies progressed, you slowly got to see an emotional, a caring, someone who like everything from family to relationship, like actually cared about. Where the original Black Widow, even in the first, in Iron Man 2 and going forward, wouldn't care about Hawkeye's family, wouldn't fall in love with Bruce Banner, like. So you got to watch that emotion build, which I thought was awesome. But yet, still, you knew she was that chick who could get things done. Mm-hmm. She would get the mission completed regardless of what it is, and her loyalty was unquestioned. So, I mean, I loved watching her character being a strong character, especially a strong female character with no powers. She's just really loyal and really good with guns. Like, I think that was pretty awesome. Plus, I mean, it's not like she looked to have bad in that suit, so, that helps. But but overall, though, like, I like that as a character. They did a good job with her. I did, like I said, I seen the Soul Stone thing happening. Like, the minute it became a thing, I was like, all right, I know what's going to happen here. For a minute there, I was a little tricked when they had the little fight scene. I was like, oh, no, it would make no sense. For him to get his family back, you need Black Widow. So that kind of sucked, but I did like it. One of my questions that I was thinking about was, I remember when Gamora first dropped and she hit the thing, I remember like I thought I spotted like a thing, and then the internet blew up, and then you saw there was definitely a blood splatter on the thing. I wonder if that's if that's that blood splatter that happened before Gamora. If it was Black Widow, that's actually pretty cool. If that's what they represent, because if you watch. I remember seeing the blood splatter the first time I watched Infinity War, but I didn't really let it manifest in me. And then literally the internet blew up like a week or two later, showing still images of a blood splatter of a body that dropped before Gamora. So apparently someone had the Soul Stone before. And now if you watch Endgame, Black Widow drops technically before Gamora does. So I wonder.
Plausible.
Yeah, I wonder if that's where it is.
One of the things I do want to talk on is them setting the rules of time travel and then breaking their own rules. And if that is true, that would be another one of their rules being broken. But we'll talk about that once we get through the characters. Because that was one of the kind of gripes I had with it. Was kind of like I said, they set the rules, which is what movies do. And to me, as long as you stick to the rules, I'm with you, because we don't really know how time travel works. But once you set your rules, you got to stick to it. So for that to work, that's another one of their rules being broken. And it's minor. It's not like it's going to change anything, but. But that is interesting though. Now for the big three, quote unquote, the big three of the original six. Thor was was a little different in this one.
Big Lebowski.
Yeah, and Tony called him that, and he was definitely beer belly Thor. Hair grew, looking a little like it was knotting up a little dreads. You know what I'm saying? But the good thing was Korg and Meek were there. They made it.
Shout out to Meek and Korg, man.
Yeah, that was one of the things that the Russos said, that when they said it, we didn't really trust them because they lie a lot. But they did say Valkyrie snuck some of the Asgardians off of the ship before Thanos messed up everything and blew it all up in the beginning of Infinity War. So that was true. And Korg and Meek was in there playing Fortnite.
Yeah,
that was pretty interesting part of the movie. But John, what was your take on Thor's arc from his movies and into Endgame?
So, I mean, starting off with Thor, like he was a character I was never really cared about, never really interested in. I thought his armor was badass, and I always thought, like, even as a kid having his action figure, like I loved the way he looked, but I didn't care about the character. I thought he was a boring character overall. And then the movies came out, and I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation on a previous episode where, like, me, I honestly think the Thor films are one of the worst of the trilogies of the films. But unlike most people, I actually thought they got better as it went on. I like Dark World. A lot of people didn't like Dark World. I felt if you follow like the Thor comics, Dark World actually fit more than most of the other comic book movies, including the Iron Mans and the Captain Americas. Like the Dark World actually fit the comic better.
That's how I felt about the first one. I felt the first one was truer to that god-like Thor and him being worthy, and because he was very, he seemed to fish out of water and stuff there. I think the first one to me was more of a Thor that I could see than any of the other ones. Now he's kind of, comedy. So, but continue.
Yeah, I honestly, I wasn't a fan of the first Thor at all, though. I think it's one of the worst of the Marvel series films. And then I love Thor 2. I liked Ragnarok for what they did. They made it funny. They kind of messed up. Like one of my favorite comic book stories is Planet Hulk. It's a phenomenal story. They did a great job with it. And they kind of like fused it where it kind of set the realism that, hey, by the way, guys, you're not getting a Planet Hulk movie. This is the best you're going to get. That kind of made me sad. But I did like the movie overall. It was funny. It has a lot of replay value. Like I watched that movie a lot more times than I watched most of the Marvel films because it is funny. It does have a mix of the action and everything like that. But as a character, I liked how they made you care. Because like I said, one of the things they did really good with this is that the three we're going to talk about, the main three, are literally three characters that no one really cared about. Iron Man at most was probably the most popular of the three, but in general, no one cared about Iron Man. Everything was X-Men, Spider-Man, X-Men, Spider-Man. So I liked what they did there. In the film, though, I feel just like the Hulk, I feel like the Thor wasn't used as well as he could have, but I do like the fact that they played on his depression, that he felt he fucked up. Like he didn't aim for the head. He could have fixed everything the first time, and I liked how they played into that with the beer belly and the drinking and the letting himself go. But I partially like the fact that they kept that throughout the rest of the film, and they didn't just all of a sudden 24/7, 24. He's like, oh. Yep. But at the same time, it kind of sucked to see, beer belly Thor trying to put on the armor and shit. Like, but because you still had a little gut in the armor, I was like, all right, that's pretty funny. But I think he wasn't used as much as he could have. But again, I love the way they played into his depression and his sadness that he felt it was his fault. Because I mean, he should have aimed for the head. I agree. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Crystal, what was your take on Thor Lebowski?
I like the Thor character in the Avengers movies. I do not particularly care for his solo movies.
Okay.
And I just don't. I mean, I like the first Thor because I was like, oh, okay, because this is a jumping off point. This is okay. And then Dark World, I was like, womp womp. And then Ragnarok, I thought that the Hulk was the best part of Ragnarok, which sucks because the movie is not called Hulk Ragnarok. It's called Thor Ragnarok. So, so his character, to me, I liked him in the ensembles. In the solos, not so much. I do like his kind of arc within the ensembles. And I thought that towards the end, I love fat Thor. Like, I don't know, like that is such a like if he could have been fat the whole time, I might have been like really digging him. He wasn't. So, like that to me was better because it was more realistic. He was fat. Like he's not gonna automatically with the thunder and the lightning become a 6-pack and all of that. Like that. I was like, where are we getting that from? But I liked Thor in the ensembles. I thought overall, you could see his arc overall in the movies, And again, with the Ragnarok, it was kind of like the Lion King, you had it in you, all Wizard of Oz type thing. Like, I was like, what? Okay. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed him in the end. I enjoyed him passing the torch. Listen, I can't do this anymore. So I'm going to pass this off to you, new queen. And you take care of these people like you have been, because obviously I've been checked out. And it's almost like I know that I can't be what I'm supposed to be. So I need to, isn't that his line?
The line from his mom. She basically, people fail at trying to be what they're supposed to be. You have to be who you are. Deep line.
And I like that he got to talk to his mom one last. Like he got that ending. So And with the Endgame, everyone's kind of ending their chapters so that they can move on to worlds unknown or things unknown. But I like Fat Thor. That's tag Fat Thor. That's my hashtag.
Jared, your thoughts on the God of Thunder?
But it was amazing that John lost all that weight and gave it to Thor. That was amazing. But overall, I mean, I guess I've always been critical of Thor's solo movies, but Thor as a character himself, I think it's amazing how they did his whole arc. Honestly, I think I like his arc the most because for the first, 4 or 5 movies, he's always been holding in, because he's always had to be the god. You know, he's always had to, be ready for the next event and so forth. He's never had a chance to actually grieve. And he's lost a lot. He's lost his mom, he lost his father, he lost his brother, he lost his love, Jane, he lost his own damn world. Like, the man has lost everything. They took everything, and he still had to be the fight. He still had to be the fighter. Like, finally Ragnarok, he finally starts to grieve a little bit, but there's an event right there, and that's when he lost his world and so forth. And in Infinity War, he started to grieve a little bit more. It started to hit him more that he's lost so much, but still he has more things to go. And then finally in this, he got closure. Like he just basically just gave up with things because it finally just set in. For all that time just holding everything in, it finally just set in. Everything that's going on, but the fact that he finally got closure with his mom, I think that was probably one of the best things that happened, because he didn't have that. I mean, he probably would have wanted closure. Well, he did have closure with his father in the last movie, because that's when everything moved to New Asgard. But just the fact that he's had this much stuff to deal with, and he finally got his little moment of shine. He went for the head, finally. And then I did love the fact that they didn't just make him have 6 packs, all over again in like an instantaneous move. They let his character just be him. Mm-hmm. And he still wants to be he still has that leader aspect because of that whole jab with him and Quill, inside the ship. Where
I think that's just personal between them. I think he just
it is, but it's a cool move with that, because he's finally starting to be not the person that he's planned out to be. He finally, for once in what he said, 1,000 years, he's finally had a chance to just be himself now. There's no pre-planned move for him, so I think it's pretty cool for Thor.
I was definitely glad to finally see him grieve, because I've been saying since Ragnarok, like, the Ragnarok movie, to me, what I didn't like about it most was so much stuff happened to Thor, and then it was followed up with a joke.
Yep.
The whole movie, Odin passes away, then a joke happens. The hammer gets broken, then a joke happens, and then Asgard blows up, and then a joke. It was he never had a chance to grieve, and he had a moment in Infinity War where Rocket talked to him, and they had that little moment. He shed a tear, a little bit, and of all the things he lost, his mom was the one to give him closure and bring it. He's a mama's boy at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's funny because Loki was a mama's boy as well. Because Loki, even when he found out he was adopted, he still cried when he found out that the mom passed away. And that was kind of what brought Thor and Loki together, was her passing away. Because Loki was locked up at the time, and he was still the bad guy at the time. And that was a turning point in their relationship. And so the mom was what he needed to get over the whole, they needed me to go for the head. That was my fault. And, and all this stuff that happened. Asgard's gone. And everything he was putting the burden on himself, and hey, you need to talk to your mom sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a great moment for the God of Thunder to be brought down to earth by his mom.
Yeah.
That was one of the best, like, moments of the whole thing. And Rocket was running around completing the mission.
Like Chucky.
Was running around still.
My man had the Chucky idea.
Can we go now? And he got his hammer back for the moment. He had to do it. He had to stand out and like, I'm still worthy. Like he still missed that. That was part of the, one of the things. But speaking of the hammer, and Jared, since you got the hat on, let's talk about Captain America.
Yes.
Him overall, how they ended him off. What's your thoughts?
Man, the first Avenger.
Technically,
technically, because Captain Marvel had the call sign, but yes.
First Avenger, so.
Oh man, I think he's had a great run. It was a very great storyline, and I will say this about Marvel in general. They, especially with the first 6, well, other than Hawk, they really made you give a damn about everybody that was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Captain, nobody really cared about Captain America like that, or Scarlet, Black Widow, or Hawkeye, or Captain, like Iron Man. Like Iron Man, people like, but nobody really cared about him like that. They really made you give a damn about everybody that was there, especially Captain America's bland, America's ass right there. That's that made you care about America's ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the fact that he lost a lot too. And he lost Peggy for the time. And then he never had that sense of, failure. Like he always wanted to try to make things right from failure. He always had like the whole bright side of the coin kind of thing. And just the whole, a little bit, but just the whole arc coming to where he's still the savior of everybody, and I think he knew what he wanted to do when he wanted to go back in time and put stones back, because he went total badass against Thanos, and that's what I love about Captain America is that he doesn't quit. He can get his ass kicked 1,000 times. He's still getting right back up.
He can do it all day.
He can do this all day. And that's probably one of the best moments of the movie is when he heard Sam, and Sam had that whole, on your left, the same way how Cap did it to him when he was running that run, and when the soldier, I'm on your left, and then because he was about to go right back into the fight. Broken shield and everything. And then
he'll say it again. He's gonna hit him with that. I can do this all day. He was gonna say it.
And then goes to that. It was cool. And then like I said, going back in time and him having that last dance with Peggy. So he finally got his moment to live out his life the way he wanted to, not dealing with this anymore. The passing it off, and we always thought, how was Cap going to pass off his shield? Was it going to be him dying to give it to whoever, Bucky or Sam, or was it, I didn't really see it like this. I think it was great to have it like this, to where one person dies, the other person's going to die of old age eventually, because his serum basically wears off. And him handing it over to Sam, who, he knew Bucky before Sam, but at least Sam was the first person he really came budding friendships with later on in life. So it was a great end for his character, I feel.
John, what's your thoughts on Cap's arc?
I think, like I said, we talked about this before. Like I think he has the best trilogy films out of the group. Although I did hate the first Avenger. Like I think it is one of the worst films. 2 and 3 are just so good that it kind of makes up for it. Don't shake your head, bro. That's my opinion.
Unpopular opinion.
Not unpopular opinion. That's a whole other show. Stay focused.
But I did like what they did with it overall. I did like like I said and Jared just said as well, like the fact that Captain America was always like, he was always a boring character. Like his shield was cool, the fact that he was super strong was cool, but no one really cared about the character. Like it was like, all right, well, like even as a kid, like when you play with your friends, like you're like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm Spider-Man, I'm Wolverine. No one was like, oh, I'm Captain America. Like it just never happened. I did like the fact that he had that whole like no cursing and all that stuff, and then at the end, like he cursed, I think like 3 times in the film. And then the overall action, watching his character develop and how he began more of a sense of humor and less of a captain who's just like straightforward military. So I did obviously enjoy that, and I think they ended him off nice. I have a lot of questions, but obviously it depends on how the time travel worked. Because if he stood back and got that dance, let himself age, then he wasn't the same Captain America who helped take care of these problems. So then that problem should still exist. And so little questions here, but I mean, I laughed about it before when they explained, like they were making fun of the films that did time travel. I laughed about it because I know, Paul, one of my biggest arguments has always been Terminator, because 1 and 2, the storyline makes no sense, but people always argue with me. But anyway, so I thought it was funny to pick that. But anyway, as Captain America character, I think they did a great job. I like the face off between them. I like the little nod to because in the comics, Captain America, there is a comic where like he was a Hydra member. So I like the little nod with the Hell Hydra part. That was pretty cool. And then as far as passing off the torch, I honestly, I'm never one to go into a film and expect the predictable things. But this is one of the first films that I was like, no, they're probably gonna follow the comic. They're gonna kill Captain America and pass it off to Winter Soldier, like they did in the comic. I was like, he might not die from getting shot like in the comic, but he's gonna die and they're gonna pass it off to Captain Marvel. To Winter Soldier, and then to watch it and watch that eventually he will die because it seems like the old age, the aging process taking place. But to watch him pass the Falcon, I thought was pretty awesome. And then even watching, I remember like I'm pretty sure same thing for you guys. Everyone in the theater when Cap got the hammer, everyone was like, because we knew that he could. We knew he's one of the few people who could lift the hammer. But the fact that in the Avengers film he didn't lift the hammer, he kind of made a budget, he didn't lift it. And then what I seen, I would love to take to take this as my own opinion, but it's not. I've been looking up online a lot of the things with this stuff, and they were saying that they think the reason why he was able to lift the hammer this time is because he's finally had a clear conscience, because he confessed about Iron Man's father and the Winter Soldier, that secret he's been hiding. That's the one part of him that he has no secrets. He doesn't hide. He's always truthful. That's the only thing he's ever hidden. And the fact that this time he's fully revealed is why he felt that he's worthy enough to actually fully lift it. That's a pretty good theory. I don't know how true it is. That's all fan based. That's a pretty good theory. But watching him lift the hammer and throw the hammer, like I'm sure just like the rest of you guys, like I went back into little kid mode. I was like,
I said before Thor said it, I said I knew it. I said the same thing before Thor said it. I was like, I
loved it. Then,
I was definitely a little kid.
When his shield was getting broken apart, one of the things I noticed, I gotta wait till I watch the film again, but I'm pretty sure the shield was broken exactly how Tony Stark dreamed.
Tony's dream.
I'm pretty sure the exact same cut and everything, the way the shield was broken. But watching the shield breaking everything and him getting hurt, like him getting his leg cut, I was like, oh, this is it. They're gonna kill Cap. Like, I was like, this is gonna make everyone, like, they're gonna kill Cap, and everyone's gonna get like this burst of like adrenaline, like, oh shit, we gotta, because Cap is dead. And then when he stood up, and then you heard the on your left thing, I was like, oh shit, and then like it made it a hype thing. But I think they did a good job with him.
Go down.
I love the fact that he got his dance and everything, and he got he's married, and I thought that was cool. But again, it gives me a lot of questions about what because you change everything. You change one thing, you change everything, and him doing that changes everything. But I'm happy with they wrapped it up. I think they did a good job with his story arc, and like I said, they made you care. They literally made you care about the character, and I think they did a good job. And I did love my bearded fucking Captain America, but watching him go back to fresh face and everything, I was like, yo, like this is a great job with the film overall. But good job, Captain America. I liked it.
Crystal, talk to me.
I don't like Captain America. I'm sorry.
Say on Power Play number 2.
I'm sorry. No, I like his movies. I like his movies. I loved his arc. I am not a Captain America fan in terms of his very militant, always got to do the right thing. Don't bend the rules. Like, rules are meant, obviously, to be broken. So we can break a few of them. No cursing. Like, are we in a monastery? Like, come on. Like, we have to fight? No.
But he grew from that.
So I don't like Captain America's, it's not that I don't like his character. It's not that I don't like him in the movies. I personally can't go with a straight-laced type person all the time in every movie all the time. So those are the things that I don't like about Captain America. I mean, they're simple things. They're not the no cursing. He was, to me, anti-Tony. So, and I am very pro Iron Man. So to me, that's my I don't like at Captain America. It's not that I don't like Captain America. I just
chose sides. That's what you chose sides.
I did. I chose sides very early. I did. I did.
Okay.
But I liked his arc. I liked the evolution. I liked that he could finally go and get a life, like a life with no aliens, no gauntlets, no, just live. And a lot of these characters didn't have, everyone has some semblance of a life or whatever, but this man lost how many years stuck in an ice box? He didn't get a chance to fully live. I appreciate them giving him the opportunity to live. I agree. I thought he was going to be the one to die. I did. I was a little happy, but that's neither here nor there.
You're cynical too.
Sorry. But I like that they gave him a life. I like that he could finally breathe and be with the one who he loved and loved him. Watching her, going to her funeral like that, it was a lot. And so I like that they gave them a chance to be happy. So Captain America, yeah.
Okay.
Pull it right quick before you go to Iron Man. That was Captain America's life. Remember, we're in a different age, range of when his life began. Like that was America at that time period. It was very pro. Eat your vegetables, no cursing. That was America in the 20s.
I agree.
Like we
watched it in the 2000s.
Had a whole different life, but it was, but that was the the goody two shoes. Yeah, I'm saying, but the goody you can't just change overnight like that. Like that was the goody two shoes of his life. He's just
for 10 years. He couldn't catch up one first word, one break, one rule.
He did grow. I feel like Winter Soldier was the beginning of his growth. We seen him have a different fighting style. We even seen him go against Fury and the government. When he started to gain trust issues because he used to be, whatever you say, I'm a soldier. I go where I'm told, and and then it was like, no, this is wrong. So his straight-lacedness started to get tested because he wasn't just aye, Captain, or yes, sir. No, he was like, well, why are we doing this? This is wrong, And he was in even in Civil War, the older Cap might have just signed those paperwork. This Cap was like, no, we are too powerful to be sanctioned. He started to go against the government, like literally, like he was going against. Yeah. So he grew a little bit. You see,
it's because of the whole Hydra thing. Like everything fell. I mean, because when everything fell down because of Hydra, that's when he started to change. Because that's when he was like, I can't trust the government that I grew up loving and supporting and being with. Now I see how it's failed me.
Yeah.
I now have to go against.
He had trust issues. He had trust issues, which is what we all garnered because in the 20s we listened to the radio.
It was propaganda.
Have a war of the worlds. Then we started to realize the government could lie to us.
So he never saw it as that until it happened to him.
I feel like he did grow. I think the movie definitely showed that. I feel like John said, the him going back and staying with Peggy should have some bigger ramifications. Or according to their rules, he should not have shown up on that log because according to the rules that Hulk told, what was her name? The bald chick from Doctor Strange.
The ancient one. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, the ancient one. Like she said, once you change something, it's going to set off on a different timeline, and it won't affect our timeline. So him staying should have created a new timeline. He should not have been there, sitting there, because that's some Back to the Future rules, which is what they clowned and said, no, that's not how this works. And then they went and did it. So that was one of my biggest gripes with the movie. But Cap was also responsible for some of my, best moments. Him throwing, like seeing the hammer rise up and then it hitting Thanos and then coming back and him catching it. That was huge. Like seeing him catch it and look like, yeah, it's on now. Yes, Crystal.
I have a question. With the hammer, where did the lightning come? Like, I was a little confused about.
That was another one of my issues because Thor is the god of thunder. The hammer doesn't do that, which is what Odin told him in Ragnarok. So yeah, the lightning should not have came, or the thunder should not have came from Cap and the hammer. So that too was a big fan moment that should not have happened.
I think they got carried away because Cap was wielding the hammer.
Yeah. Caught up in the moment, but when
let's just do it all.
Like he should not have been able to do that, but we like it though. But you know what I'm saying? And the Cap versus Cap fight was awesome. It
was like that Spider-Man shit. You,
yeah, Spider-Man 2099. That was a great moment. Cap definitely has some big moments and stuff. That was great. Like I said, the biggest thing was I feel like he was about to hit us with another I can do this all day with half a shield, and then Cap on your left, and then when you see the portals open up, that was huge. Like that was a great moment, and then that's when it turned into Lord of the Rings style epic battle. Like everybody, their mama came through. So I was in that. By the way, I don't know if y'all saw me. I was in there. I'm just gonna tell people that, but I was in the movie because there was a lot of people. I was in the back. You ain't noticed me, but I was. There.
I seen you.
But yeah, definitely. I loved the Cap send off. I just feel like it broke the rules that they set in the movie. But him getting able to live that life does sound great. It's just like, but he's going to be living in a time where stuff is happening. He's not going to do nothing. He's like, well, Frozen Cap will take care of that when he wakes up. Like, but you here. Like, are you that dude now? Like, you just don't care anymore? So, and last but not least, Tony Stark, a.k.a. I am Iron Man. His last words was literally "I am Iron Man," and those are the words that set the Marvel Cinematic Universe, on this path. So, Crystal, since you are Team Iron Man, Team Tony Stark, I will let you go first.
Mama, no! Mama, no! Mama, no! I was like, no. And then the Doctor Strange finger, I was like, no, don't do it.
That's why. So Doctor Strange told him, because he asked him, he's like, is this the one where we win? What we got to do next? He's like,
it won't happen.
When he said that, I was like, ooh, because you can't tell somebody, well, you're gonna die, but you got to do this, and you're gonna think about it. Like, do I want to do that? Hold on, why?
Right.
He couldn't give him the heads up. It just had to, what you got to do. So he looked at him. He was like, "This is the one."
I know that finger. I just wanted to cut it off. I love Iron Man. I am #Team Iron Man. Always have been. Even through the first movie, second movie, third movie, Papa. But I liked his whole from arms dealer, the whole thing. I mean, here's the thing about Iron Man. I feel like he's like he's the anchor and everything kind of. I know movies and timelines and Captain Marvel was first and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like he is the foundation. And
for sure,
he's not always right and he's not always good, but he's human. And I think that's why I enjoy Tony so much. He's a human and you can see the evolution of being very narcissistic and selfish, and then moving on to being this hero, which I liked. I thought Cap was gonna die. That's just me. I thought when I walked, I was like, all right. What? I wanted Cap to die. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. I wanted Black Widow to die.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But I enjoy tone. Like, to me, there is no Marvel universe without this presence. What does that mean? Like, who's the smart person now? Captain Banner or Hulky Banner? I don't want that.
And then Shuri. Shuri's pretty smart.
She need to go back to Wakanda. Okay, fix that.
They got a number, you can call her.
Fix that first.
And go back to Africa.
Sorry. That's not exactly what I said. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not what I said. I said fix
American with that one. Go back.
Don't do that.
Came from.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Crystal.
That's not what I said. You know,
MAGA.
fake news. I feel like this is like, I feel like Trump right now. What is y'all doing to me?
Wow.
Cut it out. Go back to Wakanda. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Handle that. Y'all got a movie coming up. Handle that. Don't. Anyway, where's the smart person? Where's gonna be that? Who's gonna be that person?
Be your old, right, John?
What? Cap is old and gone. Hulk is, I don't know.
He's
what
Professor Hulk.
is not Marvel.
Y'all still laughing? Y'all do?
For real.
I'm trying to stop, man. Try to stop.
Cut it out.
Y'all still?
No, you won't.
Oh, we go.
Okay. I mean, so Hulk, even as far as his story goes, Hulk is smart, but even himself is an accident. Like he was messing around with gamma radiation experiments and turned himself in. So he's always been the bumbling genius. And I did like that they showed him as that in this movie as well, because when he was doing the time travel, he figured it out, but he didn't get it quite right. And that's kind of what he always has been. And then Tony was like, step aside. Let me show you how this is done. So he did have it, but remember they sent Ant-Man back and he came back as a child and as an old man. And so Hulk kind of gets it, but he's always been like almost, right. So yeah, you're right. I mean, Tony is but they kind of established that Shuri is the smartest person in the universe, so
right.
He could be, and if they need weapons, Wakanda got an abundance of them, some high tech stuff to fight whatever's next. So
yeah, I mean, you have Bruce Banner, who is more the medical / he is a specialist in gamma radiation. Tony Stark was more industrial weapons technology, that kind of thing. Shuri's like a mix of both.
Shuri does both. Yeah. So don't be hating, Crystal.
And she's a kid.
I'm not.
Yeah, child genius.
I grasp that.
For a long time.
But that's the thing about Tony. He was already in the group. So when we need weapons, we gotta go out to Wakanda.
She could send them, fly them out. Come on. It's nothing. It's added. Listen, from Black Panther, you can see Vibranium can do whatever it want to do.
Hey, whatever. Sure, we'll send a car for her.
They can teleport some weapons.
Well, hold on.
Well, they got to rebuild the Avengers headquarters again anyway. Maybe they might relocate to Wakanda.
Okay.
Also, technically, isn't Shuri working at LA? Isn't she part of? Doesn't she own that research science thing?
And that's Oakland.
Oakland.
It was Oakland. Yeah, it was Oakland. Yeah.
Yeah. But Crystal, are you your moments with Tony?
My moments with Tony, I love seeing his life with Morgan and Pepper, actually having a life and having a child. And I agree with Tony in the beginning. I'm not gonna mess this. I got my life. I'm sorry, but I can't help y'all. Whatever I've been striving for, I got now. And it sucks that people are gone, and it sucks, but I gotta move on. And I got that sense that I gotta move on. But we all know Tony. Like, I'm not gonna let this problem sit here, even though I know I can solve it. I know I can do it.
And Pepper knew it too. You know,
and even her letting him go.
That he was gonna send to her saying, you know, I know I said one last time, but she knows him. Like, whenever he say, okay, one last, she knows it wouldn't be one last thing. You know what I'm saying? She knew that. Of
course not. I love his relationship with Spider-Man. That kind of, I want to almost father, son, mentor, mentee, whatever that thing was, you know. And when the last moment when Spider-Man was just boo-hooing, first of all, I cried. When Tony died, I'm not ashamed. I cried. And the whole theater was dead ass silent.
Yeah.
It was like everyone's breath was held, like, nah, they're gonna like go to black and then he'll be in a hospital and beeps and but no. And Pepper saying, we'll be fine. Right. You can. I was like, no, it's not. Pepper, no, it's not. You need to make him fight. Like, make him fight. Like,
he was running on fumes. That was it. That's why he didn't say another word. Like, that was it. It just waited for the light to turn off.
I'm sure he will be missed and still felt throughout phase 4 in some way, shape, or form. You have to pay homage to the people who allowed you to get to phase 4. So I'm sure there'll be some notes of Cap. There'll be some notes of Iron Man. I hope. Definitely, you know, Spider-Man home, far away from home. He's still probably going to be reeling from happened.
I think that movie's going to be in the beginning a memorial to Tony still. Like, they're going to talk about him because we know Happy's in it. So you can tell a lot of the conversation between Happy and Peter is going to be, you know, Mr. Stark would, you know, you can see that happening. Definitely. Which is why I think Kevin Feige rephrased and put Far From Home as the ending to phase 3 instead of saying it was the beginning of phase 4. I think, I guess, I mean, there's also business to that between Sony and them, but I feel like maybe he felt like because they might dwell a little bit on, not dwell, but reminisce on Tony a little bit in there and things like that, that they felt like we're going to consider this to be the ending of phase 3, not the beginning of phase 4. So, yeah.
I didn't get that until you told me that the little boy from Iron Man 3 was that. I was like, who's that kid in the back?
Yeah.
You know,
Iron Man 3.
Online. Nobody knew. Nobody really was. Yeah, nobody I knew. Like, everybody that did know saw it online, heard it from somebody that did see it online. Like, nobody saw it and was like, oh, that's little homie from Iron Man 3. Nobody knew. Nobody.
I loved Iron Man. Long live Iron Man. And I'm sad. I'm heartbroken. And that's just sad. So.
Right. John, talk to me.
So, I mean, to me, it was a big deal. I remember watching the first Iron Man in the movie theater and like watching, like being amazed at how good it was and like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. And then watching the end credit where, you know, Thunderbolt Ross comes and is like, tries to talk to him. And I was like, oh shit, like this is going to be a thing. And then watching Iron Man 2, which I enjoyed. It's, in my opinion, Iron Man 2 was really, really good when you first saw it. Now the years have passed, it doesn't stand up. It definitely doesn't stand up.
I can see that.
And I honestly didn't mind Iron Man 3. I think the biggest problem with Iron Man 3 was the fact that Mandarin wasn't Mandarin. And that kind of hurt, especially because the person they picked to play Mandarin was fucking perfect. So it made it hurt a little more because of that. But I didn't mind Iron Man 3. It's still not the greatest, but I didn't mind Iron Man 3. But I liked his films. I loved his roles in the movie. And then to piggyback off of what Crystal said a little bit, like it was great to watch Iron Man, who is probably arguably the most selfish character of all the Marvel characters in the entire universe. Iron Man is all about himself, narcissist, like just straight about himself. To watch the end where he gave up the ultimate sacrifice, like out of everything, like the most unselfish thing you could do is give up your own life for everybody else. And him weighing the options of like, well, half the world, half the universe's galaxy's population, or my daughter, like, and weighing that option makes it so crazy that he made that kind of, effort. And like I said, I didn't expect that at all. Not one part of me expected that. Until the moment that he looked over Doctor Strange. Once that happened, I was like, oh shit. But I still didn't expect him to die.
No, I'm saying that's what he did. That's what Doctor Strange did.
I was like, I thought, like, hold up a minute. I still didn't expect him to die. And then watching him, take his last breaths and watch everyone talk to him, and just going through my mind like, damn, he got a daughter, like he got stuff to lose, and then Peter Parker's like a son to him. So watching that, definitely added some emotion to it. Like it was crazy. There definitely was people in the theater crying. But it was good to watch overall. And again, watching like the most selfish character slowly throughout the films, and watching his worry, because he showed moments of being scared, like when he had the dream with them, and then when he first met up with Thanos and all his power and fighting him on his own planet, and him feeling like, I have to be that guy. Like if you watch Avengers Infinity War, like he's like, I have to be that guy. It has to be me to go to his planet. He didn't want Spider-Man to go with him. Right. He's like, it has to be me. I have to take care of this. I have to do this. He felt like it was on him. And even he always felt like it was his job to save the world, like him trying to put the blanket over the earth with the technology. So he felt it was him. So watching him get to make that final sacrifice and get to do it where it really was him, and it had to be him at the end. And then even the ode to the very first Iron Man film, as it ended, his last words, "I am Iron Man," to now his last words in the overall film being "I am Iron Man" was so great. I do agree with the funeral. Like I don't think there was enough there to be like, oh, that's that kid from part 3. Honestly, if the directors didn't confirm it through their Twitter or whatever, I don't think anyone would have really locked that down. That was him, because he just was like a random kid there. There was no like, if he would have had like the watch or something that's like, oh shit, that's the kid from part 3. There was nothing there that really made it seem like that. I do wonder, like in my head, I'm like, all right, well, at the end of the film, the end credits, you have that little thing. And I'm like, I wonder if the kid takes with the mantle because he was starting to build stuff, or I wonder if maybe Morgan takes with the mantle, or was it just a homage to Iron Man? Right. I wasn't sure either way, but I did love what they did with the character. I love the Iron Man films. I love how, like I said, it made it care, especially it's two things in one thing. One, they made you care about Iron Man, but two, I'm a big Robert Downey Jr. fan, and I hated over the years watching his plummet, through like sex addiction, drugs, and alcohol, which is basically Iron Man's life. And then watching him, I remember he got chosen. I was like, he's gonna be an AA. He's not gonna finish this film. And then he did the film, and watching, he took over that character, and he was that character, and it rebirthed Robert Downey Jr. as a person as well, which is great to watch. So that as a film itself, it did a great job. And then also he played the character so well that he's one of those things that I really don't see anyone else playing Tony Stark. He's Iron Man. Yeah, literally. Yeah. So, but it was just phenomenal. It was definitely an emotional moment, but I love the way they did it. It made sense. And again, watching his true vulnerability and him being scared in the beginning of the film, where he's weak and frail and his body's all beat up, and he's like, you didn't listen to me when it was time, Cap, and now ripping his own fucking the thing off. Like I loved it though. I thought they did a great job. Sad to see him go, but I understand why it happened, and it just makes sense. It sucks, the daddy part with me. He left the daughter behind. That kind of hurts, but I understand it. I definitely understand it. And even the Pepper Potts moment with him and Pepper Potts talking, I was like, confirming, like, yo, we're gonna be okay. Like we got this. So he could finally rest. It was a beautiful thing.
Jared?
Wow, what can I say? That was probably I don't want to say it. Well, it's the best way to go out, because the most selfish character became the most selfless. And like what John said, I didn't mind Iron Man 3. And the reason why I didn't mind it, because I don't know all that much about the comic books, because I didn't read all the comic books, but I do know that I think that John, you can confirm with me. It was that was the whole 5 Fears, I think, comic thing in part 3. So it was basically a storyline from a comic book where Tony faced his fears. He had to demolish his suits. Like, he didn't, he was becoming a different person. The Iron Man 1, 2, 3 Avengers movies, this seeing him as the leader, the know-it-all, the narcissist, and then seeing him as the father, the protector, and he was not just a father to his own daughter. He was like a father to Peter as well, a surrogate father. So, Tony's always been the hero, and he wants to be the hero to everything. And the whole, not even just the old, to him saying his first words was his last words. In Iron Man is the last words he said in Endgame, which is I Am Iron Man, but also the chimes at the end of the movie. Like him making his first suit.
First suit.
Yeah, like I think that was a great way, to represent and respect, the life that was lost there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was more of a final loss than the most of the lives that was in Infinity War. And it's curious to see what's going to happen with his whole family now. Like, is Morgan going to assume the mantle, of Iron Man, or they just leave that alone and they focus on the newer characters? But he was the table setter to everything. This 11 years, it started with him. So it's going to be. It was great to see it.
I think it was a beautiful ending to. I know they call it the Infinity Saga. But it was really the Tony Stark saga. Like it was a 22 episode, Iron Man show, kind of. You know what I'm saying? It started with him, and everything led back to him. Every movie. Captain Marvel came out. She's the one that saves him in space. Doctor Strange movie. He's the one that told him, he's the one that saved his life in Infinity War so everything came back to him. So, initially it seemed like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. is getting paid all his money to come back in these movies. They renewed his contract. He's selfish, but it was like the bigger picture. This was what it led to, and they had a plan for this. And, kind of like Logan with Hugh Jackman and him playing Wolverine for, I think it was like 17 years at that time or something like that. I think from like 99 to 2017, 2016. He got the proper send-off for playing Wolverine for so long. And, now Robert Downey Jr. being Tony Stark for 11 years, he got the proper send-off. And it was just like, it became bigger than just a guy signed on to do about 5 movies. It became so much bigger, and his story, Captain America came in and kind of became the focal point in the middle, but it still came back to Tony, because even in Civil War, where he became kind of the antagonist to that storyline, it was still him dealing with his PTSD from the Battle of New York. He's been trying to protect himself. He's been being selfless all this time. He just didn't know how to do it. And it was the relationship between him and his father was the thing. And he didn't realize his father's been doing the same thing for him. His father was in S.H.I.E.L.D. and doing stuff to save him and make a better world for him. And that's kind of what it came down to. With that conversation when he had with his dad was huge. It was like, I think his father, Howard Stark, said, I would do anything for this kid. And it was like, so then it makes you look back at when Bucky killed them, it was because of a mission they were on. His parents was S.H.I.E.L.D., his father at least was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, sort of, and it was Hydra that took him out for reasons of what they were doing. And then you look back at Iron Man 2, when he told him the greatest creation I ever made was you. And he invented the arc reactor, and it was just like that relationship, and that was just like, it was just beautiful. It was just a beautiful moment, and him hugging his dad and saying thank you. He was, and he's like, who is this man hugging me?
Right.
Thank you for what you've done for the country. Thank you, sir. And then the first thing he did when he saw Peter, hugged him. And you look back at Homecoming, when Peter thought he was going for a hug, and he was just opening the door and let him out. It was just like, now he's hugging everybody. Like, he became a hugger. You know what I'm saying? And it was just a great, like, I feel like his arc, his story, it all just tied together like great. Like, I think his arc was perfect. I think, like I said, we got a few gripes with Captain America's wrap up. But I think Tony was the focal point, and I think they got Tony right. I think he, his relationship with Morgan, he got to get 5 years of seeing first steps, first word. His little girl want to eat cheeseburgers like him, and I love you 3000 gonna probably be something everybody gonna be saying now. That's gonna be the the catchphrase of the year. I love you 3000. You know, he got to experience that. But even Pepper knew. She's like, yo, you are who you are. You're not. And he's been losing sleep for 11 years. You know what I'm saying? When we think about it, he hasn't had a good night's sleep since he was in that cave. You know, and that's why when she said you can rest now, I was like, my allergies started acting up. It was a little dusty in the theater.
Right.
It was cloth. You know what I'm saying? A little dusty, I think. And so when she said, you know, you can rest now, that moment, the dust started flying, and I had like the sniffles. And like Krista said, the theater was like quiet. Like everybody was just like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've never been in a theater where, because there was no music playing and there was nobody saying anything. Like it was just quiet, and it was just like, you know, Rhodey was there. Then Peter Parker's like, you know, Mr. Stark, we won. We won. Like he's trying to wake him up. Like, you know, we won. You know, and he's just looking out. And then she's like, my man, step aside a little nigga. We okay. You can rest now. And then when he finally rested, that's when she broke down. You know what I'm saying? That was just it was bigger than a comic book movie. Like that was just so well done. Like I think the Russos, the writers, everybody, like they deserve a round of applause for that. To me, Endgame is almost perfect. We touched on it. The time travel thing gets muddled, and I think they dropped the ball on it a little bit. It may look as a nitpick, a little gripe, but it's like time travel is the one thing. When you touch time travel, you gotta tie up the loose ends, and it's hard to agree when, like I said, they set the rules and then they immediately broke them in the end. And we got some questions. So one of my bad takeaways from the movie, I would say, because like I said, it's almost perfect to me. Cap returning the stones is all possible except for like the Soul Stone. You know, how do you return the Soul Stone? And then him staying is a little, you know, convoluted and stuff as well. Minor things that, you know, you can't take away from the movie. And also I feel like even though the movie was 3 hours, it does feel a little rushed in some moments because they do glance over certain things. Like the post-credit scene with Captain Marvel is the bridge between the two movies, and they didn't put it. Usually, they put it in the movie, or they explain like, you know, oh, okay, so she flew in, she met them, and they said a rocket, or somebody said, hey, can you go find my ship? Cool. They don't really mention that, and again, it's minor, but it's a glossed over moment in the movie, so it feels kind of rushed. But another thing, that 5 years later scene was like the crowd, everybody reacted to that too, the way they put it. It said 5 years later, and that moment was just like, where do we go now? Because at that point, everything we saw was in the trailers and the ads, and now you're like, okay, this movie's starting now, because now we don't know where it's gonna go. But yeah, so like I said, I got minor gripes with the movie. To me, I give it a 9 out of 10. And I usually don't give high grades. Jared, you know, I don't usually give 9.
You're the one with the high grades.
Every nitpick I got with the movie. And a movie like this, you know, you're grading it on the fact that it's the season finale of 22 episodes. You know, so you take an account into everything, and the hardest thing for trilogies or sagas is that last movie. You know, Harry Potter, Star Wars, the Dark Knight saga. You know, all of those trilogies and things like that. Those final movies, they don't really live up to the moment or the Matrix, like the things they set. You know what I'm saying? When Neo died, you didn't get the kind of emotions you got when Tony Stark died. You know what I'm saying? So they just did it right, and they had bigger odds against them being more movies and more characters, and they found a way to narrow it down and focus it to the original 6, bring it on home. But you know, and like I said, and truth be told, to me, it was like the original 1 was the focal point, and they closed him off because Thor can go whatever he gonna do, Hawkeye can stay with his family, you know, Tony got to live his life, and Professor Hulk is Professor Hulk. So whatever they do, we really don't. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. But Tony was the one that we feel like, do I need to watch any more movies? Where do we go? So, Crystal, what's your what didn't you like? What were your best moments of the movie, and what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I like the movie overall. You know, I'm not as I'm just gonna look at it all and sum it up. I'm not as knowledgeable as you three are in terms of arcs and stories and comics and DNA.
Black Widow and Captain America. That's all.
Whatever with the Captain America
and African.
But I like the movie overall. I thought it was good. The things that I didn't like, I thought that end kind of "We Are Women" hack thing.
Yeah,
it was. If I felt it felt to me a little forced. Like, oh, we've got all these great women. Let's throw them into this like Destiny's Children type of fight pose and. We don't need all of that, you know.
Not to cut you off, but to chime into, I agree with you on that point. When they did it in Infinity War, it didn't seem as forced. It was, they were going to jump Scarlet Witch, and then Okoye and Black Widow said she's not alone. Cool, we got you. But then they did it again, and then it was Valkyrie, Okoye, and every female, Captain Marvel, and every
Pepper.
And Pepper and
they're like, no, nigga, okay. Like it was like, Me Too, women first, or whatever, hashtag you want to throw. It definitely seemed very forced.
Yeah, I would have much rathered a semi Avenger here, something integrated with some men, like we're all doing this together, rather than this separate kind of thing. That was my own little like, okay. I love the movie overall. I thought that we kind of saw everyone's chapter end throughout the movie somewhat.
Yeah.
This culmination of it all ending. I hate that Tony died. So only because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.
Okay. Okay. Jared. The good, the bad, and your score.
Good.
Well, give me the bad
The whole movie. The bad. The bad, I would say, would be not understanding the Captain America's presence at that given time, only because of the time. I guess one thing we gonna know for sure is that even as regular people, we don't understand the rules of time anyway. So, make your own rules, just rules that we think of as a hypothesis. There's not really a guaranteed set thing that we know is for real, is for fact. So, but that given the rules that were set, and then that happened, it was like, okay, how did that happen? The bad, I don't even say it's a bad. We don't know really what happened to Loki now because of that time, because he picked up the Tesseract. In the previous time. So where did his life is right now. I can't even think of too many bads. I didn't think the woman's thing was a bad thing. Honestly, it did feel forced because you just saw it happen like that, but it didn't mean it wasn't a bad thing for me. I enjoyed it. And the good, all 22 years, wrapped up, like that. Yeah, I mean, 22 movies just all wrapped up into that. So, everything led into that, and I think it was a great movie start to finish. I said it was an 8. I think more was like an 8.5. And I know usually I give the higher score than you, but I'm gonna go for 8. I'm gonna go for 8.5. The more I thought about it, not really a 9 to me. Because there are some things that are like plot holes, but overall, I enjoyed it.
So, John, give me the bad, give me the good, and give me your score.
So, I mean, the bad, obviously, same thing, like the little bit of loopholes here with the time travel thing. But again, to Jared's point, like we still don't even know how time works. I'm gonna try to use the excuse at work one day, like, time's just a hypothesis. So technically, I'm not late. I'm when I'm supposed to. I'm gonna see how that works at work. But
try that.
But I think how it works, Jared. But no, like the little plot holes here, there, like that thing, and then also me, the non-utilization of the Hawk bothered me a little bit. But as a film overall, you know, great film. I loved it. A nice way to wrap up 22 films. A nice way to end the series. So I think they did a great job with that overall. I love the film. You know, I can't really complain. The 3 hours, honestly, I didn't feel like it was forced. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that sucked is that, like, me personally, I had to go to the bathroom at the very last 20 minutes. Like, I gotta pee. But I was like,
you didn't prepare.
I should have brought a diaper. But now, I literally went before the movie, and I was like, but yeah, freaking. But I love the way they wrapped it up. I love the way the movie was done. I love how they set it up for, you know, future film, because we don't know what's going to happen, because technically, if you follow like the films, like you have the Young Avengers, and so with the Young Avengers, you have, you know, Spider-Man, you have Hawkeye's daughter, you have Ant-Man's daughter, who are still all alive and they're in the films. So they can still spin it that way. That'd be great. It did bother me because I was really hoping for an end credit scene that involved something big like Galactus, whatever. But then now, as a fan, I'm kind of happy they didn't do that, because now I'm left wondering
what's next. Yep.
So, and also, if they spin it that way, as a fan, if you think about it, after Spider-Man, you have now Phase 4 starting. You could build a whole new Avengers, where you start off with these characters to build who they are, and then you make a new Avengers film. So that kind of works. The female thing, I didn't mind, because in my opinion, I think it was a homage to, I don't know if you guys know this, they have the series called the A-Force.
A-Force.
All female Avengers. And except for a few key characters who were missing, they kind of all lined up in the pose of the first comic. So it kind of worked.
Just Mrs. She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk. There's a few characters who were missing, but they kind of lined up in that role. So I didn't mind it as much, but I did see it cheesy, but it was like cute kind of cheesy. So, but I did like that overall. And then as far as score goes, because of the Hulk thing and the little bit of issues, I actually do think Endgame was the better film. I mean, Infinity War was the better film. So Infinity War to me was a 9, so I would have to go with 8.5 for this one. But I like I said, I loved it.
Okay. I feel like,
right quick.
I mean, I didn't really put Infinity War versus Endgame. To me, they feel like one long movie. And I can't wait to kind of watch them back to back on a lazy Sunday.
Would you watch a full cut?
Huh?
Would you watch a full cut? Like if they did like one of those things you made one film?
Definitely. I would watch a 5.5 hour long or the extended, because like I said, they took some stuff out of this one too. If it was a 6-hour movie combined, I could definitely sit through it. Infinity War has more action, but the dialogue in Endgame is so key, you know, that it's not boring.
See, I was thinking that, but in my opinion, I felt like, I was like, oh, you know what? Like, that's one of my things at first. When I first was watching Endgame, I was like, damn, there's like a lot of non-action going on compared to Infinity War. But Infinity War still had that dialogue with, like, you know, it had quotables from Thanos, a lot of quotables from Thanos, and then even like the whole storyline. Like I said, it had quotables, but I do agree there was a little more story development and thing. But yeah, like I said, 8.5. I loved it though. I love the way they wrapped up the series. I'm not mad at all.
And like you guys said, I mean, the universe can go anywhere from now. So where we're left off, it's the year 2024. Some people are just realizing it's not 20. Well, it's 2018. Then 5 years later, or was it 2019? And 5 years later, we don't really know. Was it 2018 that they did the 5-year jump? So it's 2023. But either way, it's 5 years from.
I think it's 2023. Because the movies, except for Spider-Man: Homecoming, which kind of ruined the stuff, the movies all took place in the year they came out in, according to things. So, except for Spider-Man, Homecoming kind of fucked up the timeline a little bit.
Yeah, but you know, for where we're at right now, you know, it's 5 years has passed since the snap. To some people, so like you said, Ant-Man's daughter, Hawkeye's kids, they're older. Peter Parker's still the same. So, like you said, they kind of met up to them. And truth be told, you know, they can go New Avengers. They can start focusing on Black Panther and Doctor Strange, do the Illuminati, or
also,
I mean, options now.
Also, I mean, it didn't star Thor or most of them, but there actually is an Asgardians of the Galaxy as well.
Yes.
Funny as that sounds.
Yeah. That's again, that could be a thing. Which is another point. Gamora kind of snuck off somewhere.
She's missing.
She's somewhere on Earth, but if they're leaving, they're searching for her. I don't know if they're going to find her because she was still here.
Well, he's searching for, because you look at the way he looks, he's searching for that old Gamora with the Soul Stone. He's not searching for the new Gamora. Because if you look at the way they look completely different.
See, I don't. You can't find the Soul Stone Gamora. She in the Soul
But that's
World.
what he's looking for, though. He's looking for the Gamora that was in love with him.
He doesn't know that.
Right.
He doesn't know that.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, unless they do. I mean, Adam Warlock is supposed to be in Guardians 3.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, yo, what happened to Warlock?
Yeah, he hasn't hatched. They just mentioned him in Guardians, and the plan was for Guardians 3 to come sooner, but because of the whole James Gunn thing, it's going to be like a year later, I think. But that might have been something they wanted to happen sooner earlier in phase 4. So we might get him later or whatever, and he might be the way to bring her back or something. We don't know. But like I said, like we said, they got so many options to go with now. We might get a post-credit scene after Spider-Man. And that might be the gateway to phase 4, but they wanted to make sure this movie ended with Tony Stark, and we heard him hammering the iron, and I thought that was beautiful too when they did the original 6 with the signatures.
Right.
You know, they showed all the little characters, but they got special scenes and the signature, so it was like they called it a love letter to the fans, and it was signed by them. I thought that was pretty poetic, you know. I thought all along I loved it, and I'm ready for whatever's next. We got the Disney Plus shows coming, and we got more movies coming.
Yep.
Thank you guys for joining.
Of course.
We've all seen it once, so maybe our opinions might change the second time around.
Tuesday.
But to everybody watching, make sure y'all give us your opinion as well. Comment below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and. We out of here. Avengers Assemble, Disassemble, bye. Latest.